We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We talk about everything. We cover everything. We discuss everything about college football because we love everything about college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this channel, this Rebel Outpost YouTube channel with a donation. Just hit the $ with a comment and we'll get you super chat as soon as possible. Welcome in. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid, PATC community. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat and with your phone calls later in the show. We finally got some breaking news. Breaking news out of Dallas, Texas. And I believe this is going to be the first part of an avalanche of news. So, keep your head on a swivel. During this live show, feed me the live breaking news coming out of Dallas, Texas. We finally got the first breaking news. Pete Thamel, ESPN, sources the idea of a 14-team college football playoff was discussed by the CFP Management Committee at meetings in the Dallas area today. If that happened, It would begin in 2026. Holy smokes. Nothing is imminent. There'd be a lot of details to work out. But it's significant. This idea was discussed. Just that alone is enough to at least speculate. Why 14? Why not 16? Is this some sort of compromise already being dealt with? Is that what this is about? Is this about, I don't know, like Steve-O in the chat, there's a lot of people already coming up with ideas what this means. Top 2 teams get a bye. They have to be conference champions to get a bye, right? Then you would have 6 games on that first round. I don't know. I don't know. There's different ways you can do this. But that seems like the most reasonable. The idea of that Friday game, Steve-O said that Friday game possibly being that where you put the G5 school in. That sounds like a pretty good idea. And then Thursday. You start with Thursday, being one game Thursday night. Being where the G5 champion, that game, whatever seed they are, they're probably going to be the 12th seed, but maybe they're higher than that. And then you have a game on Friday night. Then you have maybe 3 games on Saturday. That's your first round. Would that work? 14 teams. And that means that maybe this is good news for the G5 to keep their playoff access for 2026 and beyond. Remember, this discussion in Dallas, Texas, or somewhere in the Dallas area, this is being done by 10 commissioners and Jack Swarbrick, Notre Dame athletic director. Now, is this would this also be sort of like the Big Ten gets a extra qualifier, automatic qualifier, and the SEC gets an automatic qualifier? So SEC and the Big Ten both have 2. So you still would have 7 at-large bids, 7 auto bids, 5 of them being the top 5 ranked conference champions. But then the SEC and the Big Ten both get an extra qualifier. Maybe the team that was in their championship game. I don't know. You got to keep your head on a swivel. Breaking news, Pete Thamel. I'm sure the news is going to be flooding in. We're going to go to your phone calls real early because I don't have a monologue. Right? This was the first breaking news coming out of today, out of the news of Dallas, Texas. Pete Thamel, holy smokes. Marcus Williams, thank you so much for the early peak membership. Once again, thank you for your generosity. I do appreciate it. Been gone for a minute, but I'm back for the best show, YouTube. The fat guy from Minnesota. Let's go. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you so very much. You are hereby cloaked and dagger knighted once again. So I'm just throwing out some, look, I don't know. I'm just throwing out some speculation. What do you think? What do you think? Let me thank everybody who's come on in at the beginning of the show. GT is the first one here. Jaqueen Morales is in the house. John Menser, David Hackett, Michael Betts, Neeson, Tim Bells, Red Raider, Laura Rice, Jim Reese, Jake Goat Blue, National Champions, Michigan Wolverines. Here's the Terrapin. JT Turtle is in the house. Steve-O, they're talking about my idea. They are talking about your idea. And you might, Steve-O, you might be onto something, or you're on something. It's either way or both. Either way or both. John Teal is in the house. Holy smokes. Michael Batts is in the house, still working on that tax return. Still working on that tax return. Yes, we had a meeting today. Cameron B is in the house. Chad Bracey's in the house. Cornelius Green. Dustin Flanor. Kind of looks like my name. Flugar. Sort of. Anyways, Dustin, nice to see you in the chat. Mr. Hoosier. Mr. Hoosier. Daniel Montcastle is in. Big Ten fan. 14 is exactly where I thought they'd end up with. The SEC and the Big Ten would get their bye most years. Models the NFL. Why 14, not 16? We shall see. But, when Pete Thamel says it's significant, they talked about 14 today. That means, I'm just speculating. That means there were some phone calls going on before today's meeting. Those virtual meetings on Zoom, and they got together and they went probably directly to the 14 team model. Maybe that would satisfy SEC and the Big Ten. Maybe not. Maybe they don't. Maybe the Big Ten doesn't get 2 automatic qualifiers. Maybe SEC, maybe that's not part of this. I'm just throwing that out there. Would it be an automatic SEC bye and a Big Ten bye? I cannot believe that. I hope that's not the case. I would have trouble with that. Random tease. Nobody should get an automatic bye. If the best team in the country is coming out from the ACC, or people believe they're the best team in the country, or the Big 12, or whatever conference gets created here, because realignment does not sleep. There's going to be a different conference created in the next 10 years, at least in the G5. But anyways, you cannot have the SEC and the Big Ten get an automatic bye. They're just going to have to be the best team. Now, an extra automatic qualifier? Is that the great compromise? And of course, we have the issue of the distribution model and the voting model. But the format, if they can get it 14, if they can build consensus, if it satisfies the G5, and it would. If it satisfies Notre Dame, because there's still 7 at-large bids, it would. An extra qualifying team for the SEC, the Big Ten, would that satisfy the Power 2? It could. Interesting. It said the 14 playoff brought up by Kirk Schultz, supported by the Big Ten SEC. Where does it say that? Send me a link. Send me a link. Yeah, I don't really have anything in front of me. No further breakdowns of the idea. No article written that I see. But please keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. A lot of people are still upset with this potential idea. Jason Shear, 247 Arizona. Stop delaying the inevitable and break away from the rest of college football. The path the Big Ten and the SEC are now on is just dumb, and the goal is obvious. We got to find out more information on what happened today. Keep your head on a swivel. Again, if you're just showing up, Pete Thamel reported sources, the idea of a 14-team college football playoff was discussed by the CFP Management Committee at meetings in the Dallas area today. If that happened, it would begin in 2026. Not 27, not 28, not 29, 2026. Nothing is imminent, but it's significant this idea was discussed. Now, yeah, I'm on that, Jamie. We broke that right away, first thing when we started the show. That's why we started the show, because of this tweet. What I'm trying to get is more information. So some more information past what Pete Thamel tweeted. We're looking for one of these articles that pop up. I appreciate it. Expedition Greg. Keep looking. Now, again, nothing in this tweet talks about another automatic qualifier, auto bid for the SEC and the Big Ten. Nothing in this tweet. We're just speculating. And again, we're using Steve-O's idea. We're just speculating that maybe the two top teams that is rated at the end of the season after the conference championship games, those two teams would get a first round bye. And then the other 12 teams would be in the first round. That means 6 first round games. Okay? You'd have a 3rd seed against the 12th seed. Maybe that game gets put on Thursday. And then you have 1 game on Friday, 3 games on Saturday for the first round. Maybe then you can juice up the money a little bit, because you're going to Thursday, Friday, 3 games on Saturday. Again, just speculation. Just speculation. If Bleacher Report has an article out, forward it to me in my DM. Just forward it to me in my DM on Twitter and I'll get to it. Steve-O, the G5 game could be at 5 o'clock Eastern time. It's an early part of a Friday doubleheader. 14th Jacksonville State versus 3 Clemson. Yeah, it could. Boy, that's a tough start, though. That's a tough start because people don't normally. That is just not a Friday night slot game during the season. Not at 5 o'clock Eastern. I like the Thursday idea better. Thursday night, Friday night, 3 games on Saturday. I like that one better. I think that's the way to go. But, Steve-O, they're listening to you. So, look, push this forward as well. So, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your generosity. Once again, appreciate it. John Teal, why was Oregon State, Washington State forced to grab an ankle? Not fair. Thank you for your super chat, John. I appreciate it. I don't know what I don't know what else was supposed to happen, really. They were not going to be considered the Mountain West, whatever this new Pac-12 conference is, when it gets created, it's not going to be considered a power conference. Not at the time of creation. We don't even know what teams are going to be at Oregon State, Washington State's conference. And by the way, Washington State and Oregon State might do the exact same thing as the Big 12 and the Big 10 did. Oregon State, Washington State might just pick off the top valued Mountain West schools and leave the others adrift. Everybody's looking out for their self-interest, conferences and schools, but I completely understand where the Cougars and Beaver fans are coming from, but I think Kirk Schultz went as far as he possibly could when it came to that situation. I do not have, please send it to my, if there is something of interest, please send it to direct message. My direct messages are wide open. Yeah, I've got the Kirk Schultz. I talked about that. I'll pump that up anyways, but I'm talking about something new for today. Um, yeah, I'm looking for something new beyond what Pete Thamel has reported. Beyond what Pete Thamel has reported, that's what I'm looking for. We've hit every single other okay, well this is good. Chris Vanini. Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti called today the most productive CFP meeting he's been a part of. We've talked about some formatting, and 14 came up. We've got more work to do. That means a lot, ladies and gentlemen. 14 just happened to come up. You know, it could have been 16, it could have been 18, it could have been 17, it could have been 15. 14 just came up. No, 14, it sounds like what they're zeroing in on. 14, maybe they can get some consensus. If it is 14, what do you think it looks like? That would be 13 playoff games. 6 of them probably in the first round, unless you all come up with a better idea. 6 first round games, top 2 with a bye. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And Tony Petitti said the most productive meeting he's been involved with, that means they've got some traction on other items. Not just the format, but other items. I'm being optimistic here, but I have chosen to be optimistic during this process. Don't mess with 14, just go to 16. Well, if they can't get to 16 because of the media company, maybe they just can't get the extra money. Maybe if they go to 16, SEC and the Big Ten are asking for too much. Jay Gold Blue, thank you so much for being a new member. Cloak and Dagger, holy smokes. Thank you for your generosity, Jay Gold Blue. I appreciate it. You are hereby Cloak and Dagger Knighted. It is Thunderdome college football today, Dallas, Texas, and it looks like we got some positivity. This is great. Thank you, Jay Gold Blue. I appreciate it. Jamie, she likes it. She likes the 14 for Canes all day. 14 is not enough. Steven prefers 16. But if we have to go to 14 first, so be it. So, 6 first round road games. Yeah, I think you're right. Joe. I think you're right. 6 first round games. 6 games at home at the campus or wherever that football program wants that game to be. Most of the time it's going to be at home. So, in the 12-team format, the first, second, third, and fourth seed would get a bye. But, the fifth place team would get a home game. Here, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would get the home, right? No. Okay, so it'd be third versus 12, 4, 11, 5, 10, 6, 9, 7, 8. So it'd be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 would get the home game. Again, we're just speculating. We're taking one tweet and we're speculating. Again, though, this is great news. In my opinion, Chris Vanini, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, called today the most productive college football playoff meeting he's been a part of. We talked about some formatting. 14 came up. We got some more work to do. This is more about just the number 14. Maybe they've got some traction in talking about the new distribution model. Maybe they got some traction when it comes to votes, weight votes, and a new voting system. But the most important issue for college football fans is the playoff model. For the athletic directors, the next important issue is the distribution model. But I've been pounding the table here. This is for 2026 and beyond. This is for 2026 and beyond. So we got some traction. Now, I've been pounding the table, ladies and gentlemen. I've been pounding the table. I believe there's not going to be a breakaway. Not now. Not now. Maybe in the future, but not now. I've been pounding the table on G5. I would include them. I would definitely include them. And I've given my reasons why. And I don't want no breakaway from the Big Ten and the SEC, from the Big 12 and the ACC. I don't want anything like that. Not me. Now, again, and I don't think it's going to happen. But the power, too, when it comes to power, influence, money, yes, of course, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to be becoming more and more powerful. And the Big 12 has become more powerful. They're more powerful than the Pac-12, right? Everyone's trying to do right by their self-interest, the conferences and the schools. And you take the G5 first. They're in this room. There's 5 G5 commissioners in this room. And it looks like it was a good day for them. As far as we can tell, it looks like it was a good day for them. Maybe the ACC and the Big 12, maybe it's all good with them as well. Maybe, we'll go to 14. And did they agree with an extra qualifier for the SEC and the Big Ten? We don't know. But they're not talking about a number without talking about all these other things, right? About having more auto bids. Or maybe there's no auto bids in there. Maybe they're not adding anything. Or maybe they went really crazy with Greg Sankey and said no auto bids for anybody. I don't think they went there. I'm pretty sure they did not go there. Again, we're waiting for more information. Keep your head on a swivel. No breakaway. Great, maybe. There are some adults in the room. RFR Mac. Jamie Thornton, the Big Ten, the SEC should never be allowed multiple qualifiers. Rock and rant, this sport is freaking ridiculous. 2, no 4. How about 8, not 12, but just 2 years. Let's try 16. How about 14? The financial breakaway has already happened. If you prevent everyone else from getting the money they need to compete with you, the access is irrelevant. Yes, the financial break has happened, and it's something I've been talking about for years. I do understand your point. If you prevent anyone else from getting the money, then the access is irrelevant. I sort of agree to that. Somewhat. But again, I think, I'm just going to get out. This year is so important because no matter what they decide for 2026, this year is so important. I think you're going to see increase in value when it comes to the regular season games throughout the Power 4 conferences, throughout the G5 conferences. I think you're going to see real value. I think you're going to see people really lining up to watch these playoff games. I think the numbers are going to be outstanding. I think the ad buys are going to be outstanding. I think this year is going to be so important, and I am predicting huge, massive success, which is only going to raise all the boats. John Teal, the G5's in the room, but they're seen as the help. Thank you so much, John, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Check the DMs. Got it. I'm on it. Thank you so very much. I don't have any new DMs. Nicole Arbach. I do not have anything in my DMs, so or maybe I do. Something ain't working here. Anyways, let me Nicole Arbach. Bracket size of 14 or bigger discussed at today's CFP meeting, as well as multiple auto bids for some leagues. Everything is on the table. No final decisions yet. Okay, now we're getting there. Now we're getting more information. Again, if you just joined us here, peek around the corner, we are covering the breaking news coming out of Dallas, Texas, Thunderdome 2024, trying to figure out the future for college football 2026 and beyond. Nicole Arbach has pushed the reporting. It's not just about 14, it's 14 or bigger, as well as multiple auto bids for some leagues. Everything is on the table. No final decisions yet. Again, we weren't really looking at resolutions today, but maybe, just maybe, again, this story is going to go on for a while, but it can't go on for too long. It cannot go on for too long because 2024-25 have been settled on, but everybody wants 2026 in the future to be settled on. Okay. We got a report from Nick Schultz from On 3. We're going to be talking about that right now. They just put out an article. Let's get to it. Just one day after the College Football Playoff Board of Managers announced, let me pop this up so you can all read it better. There we go. I think that's better. Maybe not. Just one day after the College Football Playoff Board of Managers announced the 5+7 format for the 12-team field, Another major change was discussed. ESPN's Pete Thamel reported the CFP Management Committee briefly discussed a 14-team model. The idea came about Wednesday's meeting in Texas, although Thamel noted it's not an imminent change. 14 teams, CFP couldn't come about until 2026 at the earliest. American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Oresco told On3's Eric Prisbell that the 14-team model is a possibility for 2026 and beyond, although the field will be at 12 teams over the next 2 seasons. Yeah, that's about it for that. So, 14 or more. 14 looks like it might have some traction. We're looking for more information coming out of the meeting in Dallas, Texas today. Holy smokes. Again, Executive Director Bill Hancock says, I feel like we've made significant progress. This is good. This sounds like they've moved the ball on more than one issue. You know, you get the format. Maybe you throw in an extra qualifier for a couple leagues. The money distribution may follow that. I don't know. We'll see. But it's looking good. I mean, it's looking good if you regard good being movement, trying to get something decided in 2026. It might not be good from your perspective of this is stupid, this is lousy, and I can understand that. Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it. Eric Prisbell on 3 just put out this tweet. Commissioners saying there's definitely a sense of urgency to find resolution on a handful of issues. Among them, revenue distribution model, voting rights, and the size of the bracket after 25. Brett Yormark said the 14 teams was broached conceptually. Now we have to explore. I'm not sure if I like the word explore. Explore means, sure, they have to discuss it. They have to figure out a resolution. But they talked about all this stuff. It sounds like we got some kumbaya going on. There is definitely a sense of urgency. You got ESPN threatening to pull out of the deal. You got the SEC and the Big Ten rattling everybody's cages. You got what's going on in ACC country. That's a situation. We don't know how many people's hands are in that pot because, you know, you might have ESPN pushing for resolution on that. We do not know. We're just speculating on that point. They could pull the contract away from the ACC beginning 2027 and beyond. So you've got Florida State and ACC. Maybe they start negotiating. Maybe they already have. The ACC definitely kicked the door open on their motion. Couple Fridays ago. Looks like we got some good news. Looks like we've got some Good news. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Keep your head on a swivel. Random tease. Essentially, the Big Ten and SEC keep their bye, even if de facto. I don't know if they get that bye, though. Right? Sure sounds like they love, or maybe not love, but maybe they can come to agreement. Explore means find out media value. Very good. Yeah. Great post, Patrick. Great post. Break in a 16-team playoff and an 8-team are also discussed. Please, hey, NE, I love your break-in comments on the chat, but send them to me in the DM. Wherever you're finding this stuff, send it to me in a DM at Flug Empire. And I'll take a look right now if I got anything new. If I got anything new. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan Price. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Jonathan. Ross Dellinger. Yahoo Sports. Yahoo Sports. Hancock believes the CFP needs to make a decision on future format, revenue model, and voting structure within the month. Within the month of February or the month of March. We'll say the month of March for now, but they got to get it done. They got to get it done here in the next 4 weeks. These are unresolved issues that are delaying an agreement with ESPN for an extension of the new TV deal. Nothing unexpected or decided at today's CFP commissioners meeting, per CFP Executive Director Bill Hancock. Discussions centered around a new expanded format of both 14 and 16 teams, as Yahoo Sports reported, was the expectation 3 weeks ago. Okay. Excellent. 14 and 16. The number 14 being brought up a little bit more than the number 14. Yep, got that one. I appreciate you guys sending me all these breaking news. Very good. Excellent. Let's get back to your comment. We're going to open up the phone lines. We are going to open up the phone lines. Xmas, Tox, C, 1 Big Ten, 1 SEC bye. 4 Big Ten, SEC qualifying each. 1 ACC, Big 12, G5 automatic qualifier, 3 at large. Holy smokes. The Big Ten and SEC buys to protect against 2 SEC buys if base is on top 2. I don't think that's going to pass. Interesting idea. Xmas, I appreciate it. I appreciate your creativity. I'm not sure. We'll see. We will see. I don't think we're going in that direction, but we shall see. You never know. Thank you so much for your generosity, Xmas. I appreciate it. Thank you. Very kind. Very kind indeed. Thank you. All right, let's get back. We got to open up these phone lines. We have to open up these phone lines. I'm trying to keep up, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to keep up. Breaking news. Dallas, Texas. 14-team playoff format. 16-team playoff format was discussed. It sounds like there has been some This is Stuart Mandel is also on the same. I love the cement. 1 and 4 get buys. The symmetry. 1 and 4 get buys. 5 and 8 get to host first round. 9 and 12 visit. 14 would presumably mean number 1 and 2 get buys with 6 first round games. But more football is never a bad thing, but it feels clunkier. That's Stuart Mandel's opinion. What is yours? What do you want to do? What do you want to do, and what do you think can get passed? You remember, whatever they decide upon for 2026 and beyond, it doesn't even have to be unanimous. That's the thing. That's the important thing here. They're walking. They don't have a net here. They don't. How many votes does each conference have? How is the vote? How are they coming to these decisions? It doesn't have to be unanimous. This would be a new TV contract for 26 and beyond. Preseason champions, 14-team playoff is a dream scenario. The exact clone of the NFL model. Craig Smoke said it right today when hearing of the Big Ten and the SEC breaking off. Just do it already, or my words, shut up. I don't think it's happening, Patrick. You guys know that. I don't see how it's even possible. But again, we have to come. We've all these 10 commissioners and Notre Dame have to come. They don't have to come to a unanimous decision, but there have to be some sort of consensus, a vast majority, right? The meetings are still in session. Is that what you mean, Expedition Greg? Stephen McNeely, 16 is the way to go. No buys. The 1 and 2 seeds already have a huge advantage. Make everyone prove it on the field. Okay, we're going to open up the phone lines here. Give me a moment. Give me a moment, ladies and gentlemen. (763-260-1333). The phone lines are now open. The phone lines are now open. Ladies and gentlemen, we got new people coming in here constantly. Holy smokes. Cam and B, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. I'd rather they break away.
Call from
Steve-O.
Steve-O, can you just hold on a second?
All right.
I appreciate it. Super chat, Cameron B. I'd rather they break away than come in members swinging, trying to dictate terms to the rest of college football. It's disgusting what the Big Ten and SEC have done to the sport. Growth to just grow is cancerous. Thank you, Cameron B., for the super chat. I appreciate it. Appreciate again your generosity to this channel. I don't believe the breakaway is happening, ladies and gentlemen. More now than ever. But am I naive? Am I a sucker? We shall see. Steve-O, the floor is yours. Go ahead, good sir.
Hey, I'll put this in first. The breakaway is just negotiations, paranoia, and a lot of people are running with it. But
yeah.
Hey, on the 14, keep in mind that first week of the college playoff, there'll be an NFL game on that Thursday night. So you probably only have one game on Thursday night. And if you want only 3 on Saturday, means you got a doubleheader on Friday. Is why earlier I said at 5 o'clock, and then you'd have like an 8:30. But maybe you would squeeze 4 in on the Saturday, especially if, the game goes to Fox. Fox might be interested in a game Friday night. So when people talk about 16, you're trying to fit 8 college games in with good TV times. and you're competing against the NFL on Thursday night. So
what date is that Thursday night?
That's going to be like somewhere like December 20th, something like that, I believe.
Because I've got, if I don't know if you can look at your screen on your phone or TV or tablet or whatever you're looking at.
Yes.
Look at this month of football. This is coming up for the NFL and the playoffs. For the way it is set up right now, the 12-team playoff. December 20th is college football playoff first round. December 21 is college football playoff first round. So is that December 20th? Is that a Thursday?
For this coming year, the 20th is a Friday.
So they're looking at having probably one Friday night game and then 3 Saturday games, right? That's what they're looking at.
At this year, yes.
Yeah. And then the NFL doesn't start now. Of course, you're talking about the regular season. There'd be a Thursday night game. Yeah, that's a good point, sir. That's a good point. So
if they want to tick you off, they probably put the Vikings on that Thursday night.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll be watching the college football playoff. The 4 games on a Saturday.
You might start at 10 o'clock Eastern, a.m.
Or you would start that 4th game 9:30.
Right. But I mean, you're probably going to give them 3 hours and 45 minutes per game.
Yeah. Well, that's tough.
Right.
Woo!
Well, that's why I'm thinking a doubleheader on Friday. The first game at 5 Eastern, the second at 8:30. That's I don't think you realize what I was talking about earlier on that.
Yeah, you might be right. Although, yeah, you might be right.
But the seeds, it would be 3 versus 14, not 3 versus 12.
Yeah, I screwed that up. Yeah, you're correct.
I'm looking at last year's, just this past December's NFL. On Thursday, December 21st, there was a game. And then Saturday, December 23rd, there was 2 games. And then the rest on Sunday. So I've seen where they've already talked about competing on Saturday, but so they also might compete on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Just eight games with 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15. I mean, that's going to be some dud games. I mean, you know, what Liberty did against Oregon in the bowl game, that was bad enough. They were the top G5 at the Year 6 Bowl. So you only want one of those duds. Your number 15 team, 15 seed, you know, it's a lot better being a runner-up in the ACC or number 2 or number 3 in the Big 12. So
yeah, my head is starting to spin now because you know,
eight's just too many.
Huh?
It's 16 team playoff. It means 8 games on that first week. That's hard to squeeze in, especially you're fighting the NFL.
Yeah, and there's really no other way to bracket 16 teams, right? I mean, it's just
right.
Unless you give somebody 2 buys, and you're not going to do that. So
no, because I mean, you want those top 4 guys to get their TV ratings, except when they're playing the G5.
Yeah.
You imagine last year if Michigan would have played Liberty first game of the playoffs?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's not something you're going to stick around for the third quarter to watch.
Yeah.
Unless it's mowing.
All right, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate keeping your head on a swivel for me, Steve-O.
Oh, eat that stuff up, Greg.
You got it.
All right.
All right, man. Woo! Great call, Steve-O. Doing some big work. The evil Badger, Ryan Willies, come on in. Does a 14 or 16 team playoff save. Notre Dame's independent. When it comes to at large, first of all, it depends. Good question. But it depends on how many automatic qualifying bids there are. I'll get to that in a second. Hold on.
Call from
BJ.
BJ, can you hold on 1 second?
Yes.
I appreciate it. Ryan Willie, does a 14 or 16 team playoff save Notre Dame's independence? Now, it all depends on how the 14 or 16 team playoff is designed. Look what Brett McMurphy put out from Action Network. The great Brett McMurphy. If they opt, this is his tweet. If they opt for a 14 team playoff, this would allow 6 non-SEC Big Ten teams to join the 8 SEC Big Ten teams in playoff. So Brett McMurphy is thinking this is an expansion of 14 or 16 teams, but making sure that 8 of them are SEC and Big Ten teams. Well, if that's the case, if Brett McMurphy is correct on this, then you're gonna have your ACC, Big 12, G5. That's 3. That's 11. You're back down to either 3 at-large teams or 5 at-large teams if this goes to 16 teams. And you couple that with the fact that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to be making more playoff distribution money than Notre Dame, more voting rights than Notre Dame. I don't know if it does save independence for Notre Dame. It all depends on how the 14-16 team is structured. But Brett McMurphy, he's thinking this is just this, and I don't want to put words in the great Brett McMurphy's mouth, but look at his tweet. This is like he probably, I shouldn't say probably, maybe some people believe that this 14 to 16 team thing is a fig leaf, some flowers given to G5, ACC, and the Big 12 to say, look, Big 10 and the SEC, we're going to grab these automatic qualifiers, but we are willing to expand the bracket so you guys don't get less teams, whatever. You still have the opportunity. I don't know. BJ, I'm sorry to take up. You got the floor. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're good. So a few things. I think the more and more I think about this, I think that the breakaway was just a threat. I don't think that's actually feasible. I don't think that's even an intention. I think the intention for the SEC and the Big Ten is for the ACC, the Big 12, to accept a lower position, right? Because the two big boys are not grabbing power from the G5 schools. G5 schools have no power. The only two conferences that had power was the ACC and the Big 12. I think a tweet that I saw yesterday that the proposal was a tier 1 for Big 10, SEC, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And I think that ultimately it's going to be that way. I think when you look at just how it's laid out, the SEC and the Big 10 are grappling for a position and more, almost solidified spots in the playoffs. I don't hear the ACC commissioner, the Big 12 commissioner, talking about automatic spots for his conference. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think going to 18 or 16 teams, it's not a smart idea, but I think what possibly happened is they got that $1.3 billion number back. It was unacceptable or hard to swallow for certain, Sankey and Petiti, because, before that I was hearing $2 billion, for the playoff. And I think they're trying to add in some more games to get that number up, because ultimately they think if we have more playoff spots, we're going to get the vast majority of those spots. And we're going to get 65, 60, 70% of the CFP. So adding more spots get, some garbage teams in the playoff to get, bludgeoned. But ultimately, the SEC and the Big Ten makes more money.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like that's what's happening. It sounds like the Big Ten and the SEC are saying we'll have a bigger playoff, but we're going to get the extra slots, and in return, everybody's going to have continued playoff access, but they're not going to get the money. They're not, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, you all have playoff access. We're going to set it up to where we're going to have the most teams in it. We're going to get the most money.
Because you remember what I think it was. The ESPN does this a lot. They'll load up their rankings with nothing but SEC teams, right? Yeah. 8 teams. Then if you lose to an SEC team, if an SEC team that's ranked let's say 12 plays an SEC team that's ranked number 20, the number 20 wins. They'll just flip them. They just swap them. The new 12 is not the new 20, and so even if you're in the ACC or the Big 12, you would literally have to be 12-0 or 11-1 just to be even mentioned for a top spot because you won't have the resume. Right, that's what they told Florida State. You don't have the resume.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, I think ESPN is not going to pay, top dollar for the first round of games when it's 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15. They're going to be blowouts. Yeah. But it's a way for the big Power 2 conferences just to make more money.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's okay. Let's just do a little pretending here, okay? We're just speculating, but let's say it goes to, I don't care. Let's just say it's 16, and SEC and the Big Ten both get these 4 automatic qualifiers. I mean, you got all that money coming in. This definitely. How do I say this? This is really even more anticipation of ACC implosion and the Big Ten and the SEC expanding and possibly Notre Dame, right? I mean, this is where we're heading to. They're doing this because they're seeing their conferences are going to even grow more with the most valuable brands, and they got to get fed, right? Am I being right on that, or?
Oh, I think you're 1,000% correct. I think both conferences are going to be around 20 teams. The top 4 is the top quarter of your league, or almost top 20%. You're going to get automatically in there, and I think that. And if you look at the breakdown, I think it was kind of insulting because I've called it the G7 for a long time, but people get pissed at me. But when you have the top 2 guys getting there for automatic qualifiers, and what I saw was like the ACC, the Big 12, G5 all got 1 guaranteed spot. So they treated the ACC and the Big 12 similar to the G5 in 1 automatic qualifying spot. To me, that's how I look at it. So, other than, ACC and Big 12 makes more money, but from the championship level, the CFP, the proposal was just 1 automatic spot, which I thought was insulting, to be honest with you, but there's nothing we can really do about it.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go, BJ. The phone's kind of ringing off the hook. Great call. I agree with you, sir.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it, man. Call again. Thank you, BJ. Holy smokes.
Call from
Jeff Fuller.
Jeff Fuller, I'm very interested to see what you have to say. What is going on? Holy smokes. The floor is yours, Jeff.
Holy smokes, Greg.
Yeah, holy smokes. I was optimistic at the beginning of the show. But now I'm teetering, I got to tell you. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm about 10 or 15 minutes behind. I was catching up live, and anything happened in the last 10 or 15 minutes I should be updated on?
Well, this Brett McMurphy, and you see what Brett McMurphy said?
I have not.
I mean, he's thinking this. I don't know. Let me see if I can. I got it. I got a bunch of things coming at me at one time.
Hey.
But keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. It makes me look stupid, but we already know that's where I'm at. So hold on, Jeff. Go ahead.
I'll just throw.
Go ahead and talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, while you're looking it up, I'll just chime in on the idea of 14. I think it helps satisfy a lot of different parties. Look at this from the G5 or even the Big 12 perspective. Anything you get above 12, 14, it's almost exponentially easier to get teams in that are maybe not the powerhouses into those,
okay,
13, 14, 15,
let me stop
16
you there, Jeff.
slots.
Jeff,
Sure.
let me stop you there because I would agree with you except for Brett McMurphy's tweet. I got it up on the screen. He says if they opt for a 14-team playoff, this would allow 6 non-SEC Big Ten teams to join the 8 SEC Big Ten teams in the playoff. So Brett McMurphy's coming at this as an angle of the expanding these playoffs doesn't mean more opportunities. It just means more money, more exposure, more slots for the Power 2. That's where he's coming from.
Sure, and I think people are so he's my idea when I heard 14 is there would probably be 3 protected spots for both the SEC and the Big Ten. They get both people who go to the conference championship games plus whoever just missed out, who's maybe lurking there as protected, and then you give one maybe 2 auto bids if the Big 12 does if the ACC gets cannibalized and picked over, then maybe there's 2 slots for the Big 12. Maybe that's overly optimistic. And then a G5 slot, maybe a second team squeezes in there. Maybe I'm missing on the total numbers, but I think the G5 just want access, possibility, and when you hear you just have to make the top 14, that's easier than making the top 12, and if it goes to 16, that's even easier. So, it's just interesting to look at that from that perspective. I think what the SEC is very important to them. I think you've got some coaches there that are really pushing for that that automatic bye, that protected, those top 2 slots that would be protected there.
Yes.
Saban was long time on the record saying that was that was a big advantage, and he wanted that. And I think, they want to protect that. And it does give 2 more, home games for, some of your other teams. So there's a lot more revenue coming in. So I see a lot of advantages at 14. And I've always been, the more the merrier up to 16. I think beyond 16, it's not, there's a law of diminishing return that you get there from interest, from relevancy, and just from the slog of going through that long of a playoff, more than potentially 4 games to win a championship. So
yeah.
I'm just really interested to see how it all plays out. I'm glad. Isn't it interesting what happens when you have commissioners that can work together? And I'm not blaming the Big Ten's David Warren or
you can
Kevin
blame him.
or David.
You can blame him.
I mean, these are people. It seems like we've got commissioners in place now who are, let's get it done. The big, especially at the top 2, and even the Big 12. Let's move. Let's negotiate. Let's get stuff done. And I think we've got some good can-do people who are more worried about win-wins and are worried about how can I be better than the other guy, or how can I get mine at the expense of others. I think we've got better attitudes in there, and just people who are easier to work with. And it sounds like things are getting done, which is, boy, how long has it been? I mean, every CFP meeting for the last couple of years, kicking the can down the road. And there may be some of that, but it's just nice to see some progress finally.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir. Great show. And again, someone said yesterday, I think your show was built for this. This is perfect. Great community you've built here, and enjoyed being part of it, man.
Got it. I appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you, Thank you very much for those kind words. Great call by Mr. Jeff Fuller. Let's take a look at, whoops. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Let's take a look at Nicole Arbach. The Big Ten is going to be at 18 teams. A larger field and more designated auto bids gives more Big Ten teams landing spots. They're at 18 and they might go to 20 by 2026 when this thing starts. The SEC might be at 20. The Big 12 might be at 20.
Call from
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant, Mr. Hurricane. The floor is yours.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, trying to keep my head on a swivel. Thank goodness for you and the PATC community, because without you, I'd be lost. Things are rapidly happening. What do you think, sir?
Well, listen, most of the time when I'm coming on here, I'm not trying to defend Miami or words, just for the record. I would bet a Hawaii vacation for most people that I'm not worried about Miami landing in the P2 when it's all said and done, right? So
yeah.
This has nothing to do with a fear that Miami is going to be left out, because I have zero fear. Could be wrong when it's all said and done, but again, tell me where in Maui you want to go, because I'll send you if I'm wrong. But my thing is, and that's why I put that point in, and the math might be a little bit off, but I can go back and look at it, is I don't care if it's 14 teams, 12 teams, 16 teams, no problem with a single automatic qualifier. Mm-hmm. But the facts are that, if you apply that to NCAA basketball tournament, and granted there's 64 teams, so it's a little bit different, but put that in place with past performance for conferences. The ACC, in years past, then would have had 7 qualifiers based off of this same sort of mindset if this goes to 4 automatic qualifiers. And they haven't necessarily earned it, right? People still need to earn things on the field. And that's why you have sometimes where an ACC will get their conference champion in and 3 at-large bids, and sometimes the entire conference essentially goes, right? They just let it happen. So for the Big Ten and the SEC to demand and possibly get 4 automatic qualifiers, if what's being rumored on happens, I think it's pretty ridiculous, right? Because most of the time they'll probably get it anyway. They'll probably get 2, 3, maybe 4 besides their conference champion. But there's not any situation that they should be fearful of an SEC team that has 3 losses over the course of a season, especially depending upon how their schedule draw goes within their conference, versus a Big 12 team or a Group of 5 team or ACC who only has 3 losses. They're almost always going to get that wink and nod ahead of them. But what you don't want to have is a thing where the newest version of what happened to Florida State, whatever you think about Florida State and the playoffs, where an SEC team loses 5 games and an ACC team or a Big 12 team loses 2 against equally good competition, and they're left out because of the way all the things fall and the automatic qualifiers. That's a disaster for the sport. It's not the who's 13 versus 12 is kind of scenario that we talked about as being the new version of it. It's a completely different scenario that takes what happened to a whole new level, right? Now you're talking about 5-loss team versus 2, and for everyone that says, well, that's not going to happen with the SEC, it absolutely is going to happen. Just because they're adding 4 new schools to the Big Ten and 2 new schools to the SEC, some teams are going to have brutal schedules and be pretty amazing teams. Happens in the NFL all the time, right? Where great team, the best team who won the Super Bowl this year, half the world wrote them off mid-season because they were having not their best regular season ever, right? So it also goes back on the flip side of the equation where, there's an argument for a team with more losses in a given year in the SEC or Big Ten to get in. But I think they should just not go down that path, right? They're going to get their way most of the time anyway. just
No,
by the nature of who they're playing.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. We could be presenting another Florida State situation on the back end of this. There could be an 11-1 team. We have an echo here. Hello.
Yeah, let me put you on mute when I'm not talking.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. We could be building a Florida State situation here where that fourth Big Ten team and that fourth SEC team may be in a down year if this all happens. We're just speculating here. They might not be as good as a team that just gets outside of this format because you got to give 4 to the SEC. You got to give 4 to the Big Ten. Yeah, I can see it happening, even with these larger conferences. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those. I don't mind that they're going to go for the money. They're always going to go for the money. All of these conferences were, and if anyone was in a different power position than the Big Ten or the SEC, they would too as well. So it's not even a sour grapes, but it's like, can you at least kiss us instead of just, really smacking people over the head with a bat about it? That's really what it comes down to. And I feel that same way. Like if Miami gets put into the Big Ten tomorrow, right? Like Notre Dame, Miami go tomorrow, and Florida State goes, whoever. Tomorrow, I would still feel the same. It has literally nothing to do with my alliances or where I hope to happen or a fear of missing out. I just think it's kind of ridiculous that could happen. Maybe it still triggers a BCS era of having a team that we beat get into the PCS by computer things in the past that has like lingered as a PTSD in a different form over time. But I think ultimately, I just want to see good things, and it's not so much that I think the 12th team or the 16th seeded team is going to have a realistic chance of winning the title. Yeah. But it's more about like I don't know that they have a less of a chance than a 5-team loss or 14 loss in a premier conference on a down year.
Rock and Chan, I'm going to let you go because it's very difficult to hear you right now. Your phone is going in and out like crazy. Okay, appreciate it. Sorry, Rock and Chan, your phone was getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and it got to the point where I couldn't even understand. There was a lot of static going on there, so I do apologize. Let me get to some super chats here. Canes all day. Once the Big Ten and the Big SEC and the Big Ten cherry pick the ACC, there will be almost no scenario in which the top 4 from both SEC and the Big Ten aren't among the top 16. Resources, thank you so much for your super chat, for your generosity. Once again, Canes all day, appreciate it. Heroes 75, I could see a backroom deal being made. Big 12 supports, giving the Big Ten and the SEC more out of bids. And when the ACC falls, the Big 12 would get ACC's out of bid spot. Cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. Hero 75 is talking cloak and dagger. Big 10 and the SEC gets 4 each. The Big 12 gets 2. G5 gets 1. The rest at large. Could be. It could be. I don't think there might be an understanding of that scenario without them saying all this stuff directly. I don't think Tony Petiti and Sankey are putting their arms around Yormark and go and say, when the ACC implodes, you're going to get a few more schools that are going to raise the value of the conference, and we'll throw you another. I don't think it's to that, but I get what you're saying, Hero 75. Thanks again for your super chat, your generosity. Tony, 16-team playoffs, the new golden age from Minnesota. Tony, we'll be lucky to see Minnesota in the playoffs during my lifetime. Let's just put it that way. But we will dream. We will keep on dreaming. Thank you, Tony. Go for Tony for the super chat. Thank you for your continued generosity. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Let me know if there's any other breaking news, any other reporting. We came on live we came on live. We came on live right when the first reporting was broken by Pete Thamel. We knew there would be an avalanche of reporting, and it happened. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Smash the like button as well. Get your notifications open. Get them on for college football's peek around the corner, because we can come on live at any time. We could come on live later tonight. Nicole Auerbach from The Athletic. Petiti has been wanting his fellow commissioners to think about brackets larger than 12 teams. And again, go back to my last previous live show. Petiti and Sankey, in my opinion, are playing bad cop, bad cop. They're both taking extreme angles on this, and they're asking the rest of everybody in FBS and Notre Dame to make a choice. By the way, Petiti with all these automatic qualifiers, and Sankey saying, oh, let's them all be at large bids. Let's all of them be at large bids. They're playing bad cop, bad cop. I'm going to show you something here. And then I'll get to your comments and phone calls again. Everybody, hang on. Earlier today, not too long ago, a couple hours ago, I put out a tweet and I said, I keep thinking about this particular article by Dennis Dodd in January of last year, January 2023. I believe it was January 5th, 2023. Discussing the surprising support at the time for CFP to go to 16 teams. This was 13 months ago. And now here we are. It may come true sooner rather than later. And the element to this, the key part to this, if I can pop into here, some invested parties already prefer a 16-team format. And the future college football playoff right holders might as well. January 5th. Now, if you go into this article, I'm not gonna go in. Look, Sonny Dykes, TCU, Big 12. This is January 5th, 2023. He thought the 16-team playoff was the superior playoff format. The athletic director of Ohio State Buckeyes, Gene Smith, 16 just seems to be out there. You cannot ignore it. Craig Thompson, the outgoing at the time Mountain West commissioner. I'm not advocating for it for the 16, but I can't imagine a scenario that it's at least not discussed before 2026. I think 16 is the number. MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher said 4 was better than 2, 12 is better than 4, 16 is the number in my mind. American Commissioner Mike Oresco, that's where everyone sees this evolution going. I can see it happening down the road. This is January 5th, 2023, 13 months ago. 13 months ago. And it was wide-ranging support. But the difference in that time, the difference is you don't have a Pac-12 anymore. You have an expanded Big Ten and the SEC. They're looking for more automatic qualifiers, auto bids from their conferences. So it's even a different world than it was in January 5th, 2023. So when they were talking, when Steinbrecher, the MAC commissioner at the time, Craig Thompson, the Mountain West Commissioner, Mike Oresco, the American Athletic Commission, when they were talking about an expanded format to 16, they were probably thinking more opportunities for their conferences, for their schools. But it might not end up that way. We might be at a point, ladies and gentlemen, where one side of the fence is making sure they continue playoff access, and the other side of the fence, the Power 2, is saying, you have your playoff access, but we're going to grab more money, more playoff spots. That is the compromise. My question to you, can you live with it? I get it. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, this ain't good. And again, if this happens, let's just pretend we're speculating here. Let's say it goes to 16 teams. Let's say there's 4 automatic bids to the SEC, 4 automatic bids to the Big Ten. They're getting more playoff distribution money. And plus, they can still get in a large bid besides the 4 automatic bids. There's even more driving incentive for Florida State, for Clemson and North Carolina, get out of the ACC. When you're looking at one ACC playoff spot a year, and then Notre Dame, what if that happens? If there's a 16-team playoff and it's 4-4, 1-1-1, let's just say it's 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 5 at-large spots. I don't know. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. They only have one qualifier for the 12 in the ACC. If one of the motivations is this like a quest to get Notre Dame out of independence for their football program, the Big 12, the Big 10 and the SEC will probably say, no, one qualifier for both Big 12 and ACC. Squeeze in Notre Dame. Continual squeeze of Notre Dame.
Call from
Larry the GM.
Larry the GM. The floor is yours. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Greg, can we talk about the 14-team playoff and what the different conferences wanted? Because I think that's the important thing to do.
Got it.
And I'm behind you about like 10 minutes, so you may have done this. But I think if we look at the conferences, the G5, those people wanted access to the playoffs, right? And
yeah.
It could have been a whole lot worse for them than what the 14 playoff scenario gives them access.
Yes, sir. Yes.
The ACC and the Big 12, as long as there is an ACC, right? Yeah. They want access, but they want an opportunity to put more teams into the playoffs than just the one automatic qualifier.
True.
The 14 team gives them that access.
True.
The SEC and the Big 10, they want to be rewarded for their own perception of a more difficult schedule, a more challenging opportunity. They wanted more than just one automatic qualifier. And the other thing I'll say is, if you understand the 2023 season and understand that under the new conference format, the Big 12 champion was ranked 14 by the playoff committee, and the ACC champion, and you assume that Florida State's not in the ACC anymore in 2026 or later, right?
Yeah.
So their champion was Louisville. Their highest rated team with Louisville was 15. There was no way, no scenario that the Big Ten and the SEC were going to accept that the 14th ranked team and the 15th ranked team were going to get a bye, and their team, Texas, sitting at 3 or Washington sitting at 2 and Alabama sitting at 4, we're not going to have a bye. And that's what the 14 team playoff allows the 1 and 2, the best two, one from each one of those two power conferences, to keep it even each one of them gets a bye if they deserve it, and there's the details we'll get on that. But I think that's the key issue that I think the SEC, and the Big Ten were never going to accept the 14 seed and the 15 seed getting a bye in the future playoff format, which was almost likely in the 12 team.
Okay, you're making a great argument. You're making a great argument. Let me ask you a question. So we're going. Let's just say we're going to the 14-team playoff, and I got Brett McMurphy's tweet back up here. Okay, and you're going to get 4 SEC out of bids. You're going to get 4 Big Ten out of bids. Correct?
Greg, I went through the last 3 years. I'm ready to lay this whole thing out for you. How many teams?
Hold on. I'm getting somewhere. Here.
Okay.
Just let me ask you this question. 4 auto bids SEC, 4 auto bids Big Ten, and then the next 3 highest conference champions get an auto bid. Okay? So you're probably looking at the Big 12, ACC, and the G5. Okay? That is 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. You got 3 at-large spots. So what I'm asking you, Larry, you make a very good argument when it comes to SEC, Big Ten's interest. The ACC at least getting a team in there. The Big 12, the G5. But what about Notre Dame in this situation? Can they live with only 3 at-large spots being out there?
Well, Notre Dame in 2021 would have been in the playoff. Notre Dame didn't deserve to be in the playoff last year, and they didn't deserve to be in the playoff in 22. Last year, under this scenario, the Big Ten would have 6 teams in the 14-team playoff, and the SEC would have 5. That's because I'm assuming that Florida State now in one of those 2 conferences. I'm talking about in 26 or 27, Greg.
Yeah.
Right. You have to pretend. You got to remember they're talking about a scenario for 26 or 27, and they know what's going to happen with Florida State, and they probably have a whole heck of a lot better idea of what's going to happen with Miami and Clemson and some of these other schools than they're able to talk about right now. Right. So under that scenario, there is in 2021. There's the only time, if you look at this, where they're putting teams that their 4th automatic qualifier, you could make an argument, doesn't belong in the playoff, and that's Oregon ranked 14th and Oklahoma ranked 16th. Right, and then it's like, well, that's a heck of a lot better. You don't want those teams out of a 14-team playoff anyway.
You bring up a very good point. We bring up a lot of good points, but the very good point in the sense of there's a lot of things that people can't talk about right now in this room, in this playoff room, and that is the eventual implosion of the ACC and what that's going to do with the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC. So it's almost like they're building this playoff format with that in mind, and I absolutely agree with that.
Well, you had a message. You just played it. Like I said, I'm about 10 minutes behind you. That was talking about, well, when the ACC implodes, the Big 12 will get a second automatic qualifier. Yeah. Well, that would probably make a whole lot more sense. That will make sense at that point in time for the Big 12 to be rewarded with a second automatic qualifier, because I believe that the Big 12 will get probably not the top 4 or 5 or 6 teams even from the ACC, but probably not the top 4. But they're going to get the next group of teams that make sense to them financially to merge in with the Big 12. And so if you pull some of those teams in, then the Big 12 in 22 would have had 3 teams that would have made this 14-team playoff, and the Big 12 would have had 3 teams in 2021. The Big 12 has been doing their part in this 14-team playoff scenario. They would have gotten 2 of the 3 at-large teams. So I don't think this is the unfair nightmare scenario that people are making it out to. It's literally the top 11 teams in the 2023 seedings were all from the SEC and the Big Ten.
I get that argument, but I don't like to use the if Washington and Oregon were in the Big Ten, the schedules would have been different. Who knows?
Okay, but
you know,
Greg, I appreciate that line of argument, but let me turn it back on you. Okay, so if with them separated, we can see that Washington was one of the best teams, at least one of the top 14 teams in the country, right?
Yeah.
And so even if you put them in the Big Ten, yes, they might have ended up 10-2 or even 9-3, but they were one of the best 14 teams in the country. You make their schedule harder. This is exactly what the Big Ten and the SEC are worried about. That's why they want the 4 automatic qualifiers, because their 4th automatic qualifying team may be 9-3 or even 8-4, but in their view, because they will have gone through the gauntlet of those conference schedules, they believe that team, even if it's an 8-4 team, is better than an 10-2 team from the Big 12. And that's look, I'm in Texas. I understand. I'm a Texas fan. I've lived through the Big 12 for all these years. I understand how Big 12 fans are feeling about this. But you got to be fair. If a team goes through the SEC gauntlet and finishes 9-3, they should not be out of this 14-team playoff. That 9-3 team from the SEC or from the Big Ten is probably one of the 14 best teams in the country. Even if their record doesn't look as they don't look as fancy as the 10-2 team from the Big 12.
Yeah.
And that's why the SEC and the Big Ten are fighting for the 4 automatic qualifiers, because they know that's what they're worried about. You tell the SEC they got to go to a 9-game schedule. They're worried like, well, we're not going to be rewarded for it. You give them the 4 automatic qualifiers, they're going to be far more open to the 9-game schedule. Great. All these things are interrelated.
Yeah.
That's what I don't think fans are thinking about.
Okay. I appreciate it, Larry. Appreciate the call. Got to get off now, but I
all right, sorry.
Call again, sir.
All right, thank you.
Beautiful. Okay. Look, I get it. There's a lot of people coming from this at a lot of different angles, a lot of great calls. We're going to be continuing to cover this at Peek Around the Corner. But we are going to wrap it up. My Wednesday nights are always difficult. There might be a chance to come on late tonight, live show, if there's more reporting on this. If not, tomorrow will be the day that we gather up everything that is going on. But it was interesting. Interesting what's coming out of this. The Big Ten and the SEC pushing the chips in the middle of the table. Big 12, Brett Yormark, willing to explore. That was his words. We shall see what happens here. G5, just trying to maintain playoff access. What Notre Dame is thinking about here, I don't know. If we go by Brett McMurphy's scenario, where there's 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten out of bids, with another 3 conference champions out of bids, top 3 ranked conference champion out of bids, you're looking at only 3 at-large bids in a 14-team playoff. I don't know. That's pretty tough. But I want to thank everybody for your incredible generosity with the donations, the great chats, the comments in the chat room. I haven't been able to get to many of them, but holy smokes. And then the phone calls were electric once again. Again, before you leave, subscribe to our channel, smash the like button, get your notifications on. There could be an opportunity where I come on at 10:30 Eastern time tonight. If there is more valuable reporting, if I hear anything, I'll come on again tonight. No questions asked. So keep subscribe and have your notifications on. But I want to thank you all. Thank you. I appreciate it. Until next time, and it's going to be real soon. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other.